someone here who's officiated a lot of rather strange weddings, haven't you?
Yes, I give people the opportunity to have the wedding of their dreams, so people choose all sorts of locations.
Right, well there's one particular location that we'd like to look at now. It's Carl and Nina. First of all, just tell me how you met each other. How did you meet each other?
We actually met each other when we were both working in Cyprus, and Nina jumped literally on top of me when I was on scuba in the water.
Nina, can you explain that?
It wasn't as drastic as that. I worked for a tour company and we were taking some guests around on a boat trip. And at one point it's actually called the chapel, because there's a chapel on a cliff. We dive off the boat, we climb the cliffs and we jump in. And Carl was meeting the boat to actually promote the diving that he was teaching. And as we jumped off, he came underneath the boat and we had a near collision, let's put it that way.
Why did you jump on top of him?
I didn't see him.
Right.
So we were jumping into the water and swimming up and Carl.
So it wasn't a case of instant attraction?
It was. Carl actually saw what I was in. I just saw his fins, that's what I saw. Because they were luminous green. That's all I saw. Just a figure go underneath me.
And you were turned on by luminous green?
No, he actually...
Are you sure you weren't attracted by a frog in your other life or something? They don't have fins, do they?
No, it wasn't until I got on the boat and then he actually said, was you the one that nearly jumped on top of me? And I was like, well, yes, I do apologise for that. And then we just started to chat. We spent the whole day within the water. We were either jumping off, diving, going on the boats and banana boats, just with the clients, and had a good time.
So you got on terribly well. How long after that did you get married?
3 years. 40 years.
2 years.
2 years, okay. So we now take you 2 years later to their wedding, where the Reverend Blake, actually, you did the officiating, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's have a look at the wedding of Carl and Nina. Right, so you're in a swimming pool now. What, can you just tell me what the bride is wearing?
Just a white bikini.
And the bridegroom?
I'm in a black wetsuit with a white bow tie.
A white bow tie, this is what you wear at a swimming pool wedding. Actually going underwater now, can I just ask the Reverend Blake, how often have you dived before?
I'd only dived on 2 other occasions, but just on holiday on a day course.
Never done a wedding underwater before?
No, this was a first.
Okay. Now, I'm not quite sure what you're doing at this point. Maybe exchanging, reading the vows perhaps?
Yes, we're doing the vows.
You don't sound very audible to me. Were you audible to each other?
Yes, we were. 2 or 3 of us, between myself, Carl and the Reverend, we could hear, one at a time, we could hear what each other
But a
was
lot of
saying.
bubbles going.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. And exchanging rings. I don't quite see how... Did you tell him to kiss the bride?
That was a rather dramatic moment because he was so eager to kiss the bride at the end that he ripped her mask off and she couldn't breathe and there was a mad dash to the surface. So that was slightly worrying.
So, yes, overcome with passion. Do you recommend an underwater wedding?
Personally, yes.
Fine. Does anyone else feel attracted by that example to follow it? No. Anybody got any views that they think this might be less appropriate than other forms of wedding? Yes.
I have to say, I think this is making a bit of a joke and a bit of a gimmick of what weddings and marriage is all about. Okay, it's good fun, but at the end of the day, as far as I'm concerned, a marriage is about the giving of a man and a woman to each other in the sight of Almighty God, rather than underwater in some foreign country. I don't want to appear to be a killjoy. In church, marriage is a sacrament, a channeling of God's grace. And I think that has to be entered into in an atmosphere of joyful solemnity. Now, that was a very joyful wedding, but I have to say it's making a bit of a fun of a bit of a joke of what it's all about.
Well, you're making a joke here.
No, I don't think it's... I feel quite hurt that you just said that my wedding was a joke. Because we've been married 3 years now, we've been blessed with a beautiful little boy, and we spend a lot of our time in water together.
I'm not saying your wedding's a joke, but I'm not saying your marriage is a joke. But what I'm saying is, I think if you look at that, and everybody in the audience laughed, because obviously there was something amusing about it.
But how many people here have tried scuba diving?
I've tried scuba diving.
Yes, but it was special to us. It doesn't matter what anybody else in the studio thinks, because it was our day.
You have the clerical gentleman over there to officiate. How important for you was the idea of God being at the heart and the centre of your marriage?
Right, I've got very spiritual views on the world and nature. Now, be that God or another being or what have you out there, my views are very, very spiritual at being at one with nature.
Is it not just as much a mockery if, all these people that have like a traditional white wedding, which, ultimately ends in divorce, as almost half of them do. I mean, this obviously meant a lot to this couple, and I agree with what Carl says. I mean, it's, more significant to them than a big frothy white wedding.
That's a very simple little ceremony. Just them and a few bubbles. Yes, Nina.
I would like to ask how many people that actually get married in a church, believe in God, and actually go each week.
I must say that a couple of years ago, when the law changed to enable people to be married in secular venues, like in country houses, on football pitches and things like that, I've certainly noticed a great difference now. And the people who come to church to get married see the Christian aspect as being very important indeed.
Okay, let's just pick up. Yes, right.
The gentleman has his views. The great mistake is when those views are forced upon other people. Each of us in modern society have the views that express the person or the couple's approach to life, to God, to relationships and to love. And if the service is to have meaning, it's their views that must be expressed and must form the heart of the ceremony, not borrowed or forced by somebody else.
Now, you've actually performed a marriage ceremony for lesbians, Caroline. Hello, how do you do? That you went through, it would have been a blessing, wouldn't it? Because it's not legally binding as a...
It's not legally binding, but as far as I was concerned, it was a wedding.
Right.
Very, very much so.
And why did you want to make it such a formal occasion?
In my mind, it showed my commitment to my partner, the love I have for my partner, and how much I feel for what relationship we have together. Absolutely.
Did you have any doubts about officiating at this?
No, not at all. I felt a great privilege to do so. What I often find is that people from a lesbian or gay background, because there's been a struggle to get to the point of commitment and expressing it, fill the service with a deep and a real meaning.
What does the Church of England feel about this?
Well, sadly, often the Church today takes a judgmental stance about many people who try and express their lives.
So would they have approved of you in the swimming pool, or you with the lesbian marriage?
Well, a local vicar who heard about it, his comment was that silly people do silly things. And that was the sort of tragic comment, I think, that people who misunderstand what other people are doing to express value in their lives.
So have you been defrocked, or whatever word that was, uncollared?
No, I made the conscious choice to actually extract myself from the rules and regulations of a church which stifles the gospel of love in order to be able to express my priesthood.
So you're a freelance?
I'm a freelance minister. I love and respect the views that people have and seek in the services, the baptisms or the weddings, to do them where people want.
Is there a wedding you wouldn't do?
Well, people often ask me that, but I've done weddings in every sort of location imaginable. On the water, up in the air, in a palace in Marrakesh, over the internet. People come up with all sorts of amazing locations.
Bungee jumping?
I'd be frightened of doing that, but I would if I was asked.
Well, you dived. You would do that. Any bungee jumping viewers would, apply here.
But what I find most of all is the majority of people who come to me want to have a full traditional wedding service in a beautiful location where they have control over the content of the service and ensuring that it expresses what's at their heart, not somebody else's heart. And I love to do that. And then occasionally there are people who want something imaginative, wonderful, outlandish. And yes, it's wonderful to say, yes, this is your creativity expressing itself.
Two people of the same sex is different.
Explain to me why it's different, Esther. I think that gentleman over there's got a very, very archaic attitude towards marriage. He virtually contradicted himself by saying that it should be in a church and a testimonial to God and everything else. God's everywhere. Doesn't matter where you are or what you're doing, and it's just you showing somebody how you love them. If it wasn't for Jonathan, then we would have had such a hard time. I went to a church and they point blank refused us. Why? I'm no different to anybody else. I'm made of the same stuff as anybody else. I can love as much as anybody else in this room can, and that was my way of showing it. We went to lots of other places to try and find where we could do this civil ceremony. Everybody turned us down because we're lesbians. Why? In today's age, we live, we breathe, we eat, we sleep, we share happiness, everything.
But you
Why
can't.
can't we do the same as everybody else?
Because you can't make babies together.
I don't want to make babies. Why does everybody have to make babies? Not everybody that gets married wants to make babies, Esther.
No, but in a lot of religions, that's defined as the purpose, isn't it? Go forth and multiply.
It is, but that, I mean...
You know, in fact, it has to be said that a number of couples for whom I've taken services have in fact gone on to have babies and to form a stable family unit that I believe should be respected and encouraged in society. Yes.
All right. Now, how did your family feel about all this?
Well, I've got my mum sat next to me.
Hi, Mum. How did you feel about this?
I was ecstatic.
You were?
Yes.
And obviously, from that point of view, you must have been very upset on Caroline's behalf when other people turned it down.
Yes. Why? I'm like Caroline, I can't understand it at all.
What about your husband? How did you feel?
My husband accepts what she is, but he doesn't like to discuss it.
Was he at the wedding?
No.
What's your view?
Well, certainly, and my view is that it goes completely against the Christian tradition. I mean, if you look in the book of Genesis, the first book of the Bible, it clearly says that God calls a man and a woman together to live their lives in a covenant relationship. We see that as marriage, and for more than 2,000 years, I mean, that Christian tradition has been celebrated. I don't think we have the authority to change what you can find in sacred scripture and what has been divinely revealed to us by God through Jesus Christ.
Right.
Over in Scottish law,
Yeah.
a registrar cannot leave a registry office. If you're married out with the registry office in Scotland, it has to be by a minister of the church.
Oh, they've done that.
Well, no, but
No
the
civil
point
rules
is,
in Scotland.
well, I'm sure there is, but the point I'm making, Esther, is that the number of couples that come to Gretna because they've been turned away from their churches.
Okay, any other views? Yes.
Is that not part of the reason why the church is declining so much in popularity now? Because they take this draconian view.
So what do you feel about swimming pools and other places?
It wouldn't be for me, but I respect the fact that people want different things, and if that's what suits you, then I think that's perfect.
Right.
But then again, do you have to go to a church to actually worship God, if that is what you choose?
Right.
Is he not everywhere all
This
the
is a
time?
very, very interesting programme. Unusual weddings. Now, Bishop, you've conducted some unusual weddings.
I have indeed. I would be very like the Reverend Jonathan,
Yes.
even though I'm Roman Catholic by birth and tradition. And I would accept that what Jonathan does is what should be done. And I think this couple that had the wedding in their way were quite entitled to do that. Recently I was criticised for doing a wedding at a disco in Belfast. But what we did was we transformed the disco. We had 1,000 young people who were happy to gather and to pray and to back up the couple. And we sang hymns and we had organ music. And it was very meaningful for them. They weren't regular churchgoers, but they were spiritual and Christian. And I think the important thing to do is to ask yourself a very simple question.
Yeah.
What would Jesus do? Not what does the rule book say. And would Jesus marry... Would Jesus marry that couple in the front? I think he would.
You think he would?
I would be certain of it.
The will of Jesus Christ, as you know, is shown through the tradition of the church, and that's a tradition I don't think we can abandon lightly. And in a day and age when tradition is often being so swept aside so quickly, I think marriage is a great bedrock in our society, because as far as I'm concerned, marriage is a sacrament, a channeling of God's grace.
In respect, you're saying that people have deserted the church, but the church have deserted people themselves, haven't they? People like myself who are divorced, I wanted to walk down the aisle. Now, I walked down the aisle 30 years ago, and just because I wanted to get married again, I couldn't do that because the church rejected me.
I think the church has to uphold the tradition, the notion of the indissolubility of marriage. Now, I know of couples in cases where, in their previous marriage, someone's deserted them and there's been no fault whatsoever. But I think for the sake of the upholding of the nature of Christian marriage, the church has to say that a second marriage in church isn't a possibility. Now, of course, the church can offer blessing services of prayer after a civil marriage. But I think just to defend the nature of the sacrament, we have to say, however hard it is, I'm sorry you can't be remarried.
Right, lots of people want to comment. Okay, yes.
I was just going to say that marriage is about love and being together. It doesn't matter who you are, what you are, how, why, where you get married. As the gentleman down the front is saying, people feel close to God in different places, and you may feel close to God in the church, they feel close to God in the swimming pool. People appreciate the different tastes and views in society, so it's understandable why can't they have different wedding. You can't force things upon people just because it's what you believe.
Although of course, that was the convention, yes? Yes.
At the end of the day, the church is the people, it's not the building.
Can I just say that I guess we should let Lynn on a bit of a secret because we've talked through. I mean, Jill obviously cares for you very, very much indeed, and she did hope she might be able to change your mind, because I guess that's the end of that's part of the fairy tale, isn't it? That would have made it a fairy tale ending, but I think we've learned that real life's a bit different. But we did have somebody through here who's just going to stay there now. He's not part of anything. I just thought, if you have a look at the monitors there, all the way back in, we've got Reverend Jonathan Blake. I'm afraid, Reverend, you're out of a job. but you were listening all the way through, and do you feel Lynn's got a point? If people don't feel ready for something, what should they do?
Well, it's important that both partners are happy together in the commitment that they make, and commitment's expressed in lots of different ways. And it's true that living and loving and coping with the daily routine of life and learning to love each other day by day is what the heart of a relationship is. And perhaps in time they'll both come to a point where they want to express that publicly. Okay. A couple of people have come to me this week, and one has been in a relationship like this for 13 years.
13 years, so they can last, yeah.
And another for 16 years. And her family and friends are saying, goodness me, it's been so long now, you must go and get married. And I hope they have a lot of love together in the years to come.
Thanks a lot, Reverend.
He's a self-styled bishop who marries gay couples for hundreds of pounds a time. Tonight's Inside Out on BBC One profiles a man who's caused a stir in suburban Kent. Sumit Bose joins us from Inside Out, and he's at the house now. Sumit.
Bishop Jonathan Blake. Hello. Some would say that your church, the Open Episcopal Church, isn't a church at all. How would you answer that?
When Bishop Palmer consecrated me a bit 4 years ago, we had a vision of a church that was for everyone, that would provide the sacraments of baptism, marriage, Holy Communion for everyone, to spill the life of the church back into the hearts and homes and gardens of ordinary people.
How can anyone take you seriously though? This is a loft. You're doing a service in your loft.
All bishops have chapels in their homes, and the early bishops founded the church through taking services in their homes. This is very traditional.
You've made your reputation by conducting gay marriages, but the fact is the church in general doesn't recognise gay marriage, does it?
Jesus was controversial. He had a great concern for those on the margins of society who were being attacked. The gay community is much maligned, and our church believes that wherever you find love, you find God, and the sacrament of marriage is equally available for gay couples as it is for heterosexual couples.
Isn't this all a bit of a publicity stunt? You advertise in the gay media, you're offering them weddings, but really it's not a wedding as such, because they can't get married.
They are married in their eyes, the eyes of the community, the eyes of God, and our church offers ministry right across the board for tens of thousands of people, for baptisms and marriages and gay weddings, everything that Jesus wants us to offer in love.
Bishop Jonathan Blake, thank you very much. Well, you can see the Bishop in action on Inside Out tonight, where he'll be conducting a gay wedding.
But first, Sadie Nine attends a controversial summer wedding.
What's the date of the wedding? It's the 26th of June. Sounds good.
Paul Phillips is getting ready for the biggest day of his life.
Jackie's the first one button to show the way.
In a month's time, he will be a married man, and like most grooms, he's facing the prospect with nervous excitement.
It's quite scary now because it seems much more real than it did obviously 4 months ago when we were just discussing the date, and now it just feels like, you know, away we go.
Let there be you. Paul may be wearing a traditional mourning suit, but his marriage is far from conventional.
Let there be oysters.
A hairdresser from Leighton Buzzard, his life partner-to-be is no blushing bride, rather a French called Christophe.
I'm really excited because it's just what I've been waiting for all my life, really. Not quite as I expected, but it's the dream that most people have, isn't it?
Well, this going to be the best date for you.
Was it kissing dinner?
Please let there be love.
Then may our sins be blotted out.
this is the man who has agreed to bind them together in holy matrimony. Bishop Jonathan Blake runs his Christian ministry from a rather unusual location, the converted loft of his semi in Welling, South East London. He used to be a priest in the Church of England, which disapproves of gay marriages. Frustrated by what he thinks are outdated traditions, he decided to set up a rival, the Open Episcopal Church.
It was always my belief, though somewhat frustrated when I was a vicar in the Anglican Church, that people should have equal access to the rights of marriage, be they heterosexual or homosexual. When I launched myself independently, and then when I was consecrated a bishop, it enabled me to offer that facility. So I took the step of advertising in the Gay Times and in Diva, and for people to suddenly find a Christian priest offering this facility, it is a wonderful thing.
We actually met in a taxi because we were coming out of a nightclub and we just started talking from there. And then when I got out of the taxi, I thought, well, I didn't think I'd see him again.
3 years later, and Paul and Christoph are off to their first face-to-face meeting with the man who's going to marry them.
I think we expected kind of negative reactions. We had tried the registrar, which were prepared to do it. They actually charge you the same, but don't recognise anything legally. And Jonathan seemed to be much more sort of accommodating as to where we wanted to do it and how many people.
Hello, welcome. Are you tired? Come on in.
Everything is shared completely. That's just how we work, from bank account to the tax bill. And I think it was just something that we saw as a progression, that it would be the next step.
Natural. You wanted to try and create a formal, but a light-hearted atmosphere, serious but friendly, gently religious, warm and romantic, emotional, happy and dignified. Are there any others you want to add to that?
I think it's quite important to have that sort of traditional feel to it, isn't it? Because obviously it feels more valid doing it that way.
Yeah. And live it, delight in it. It's the dance of love.
Just be prepared if we start laughing and getting all nervous.
Yeah. O Lord, show thy mercy upon us. During the course of my ministry, I'm asked to do every service imaginable, and I've probably done tens of thousands of services over the years. In terms of gay marriages, I've probably done hundreds.
Did you make money out of this?
The money side of it is of no interest to me at all. I have to live and I have to provide for my family, and as such I ask for a contribution towards my ministry from the people for whom I provide services. That's what I seek to do, to live in a modest way and to cover the necessary costs. My life is open for anyone to come and see.
I see the crystal raindrops fall and the beauty of it all when the sun comes shining through.
If we went for that sort of that kind of
stuff. Even though their marriage will have no legal basis, the couple have the enthusiastic support of parents.
Quite excited, yeah.
Yes, I'm excited as
As
well.
far as I'm concerned, my son's getting married and it's really important.
I know they're committed to each other, and I think that's the main factor.
And when they said we want to do it this year, we're fed up waiting for the law to change, I was like, oh, when? And they said June. I was like, no way, but we've been quite upfront with people. It's a same-sex wedding. Is that a problem? Most people have said no.
With the wedding list, we noticed that they went through all the information with us and then asked for the name of the bride. Well, obviously there isn't one, so unfortunately one of us has had to go on to the bride's name, which is a little bit insulting, but obviously, you know, as the law changes, hopefully that will change as well.
Don't make too much noise, Nick, because you frighten.
Jonathan Blake has a long history of challenging authority, so it comes as no surprise that he champions gay marriages.
And what do you say to people who think that what you're doing is immoral and wrong?
I think sometimes people react very much against it because they think that religion and Christianity is just about the majority and that which is sort of respectable in a particular way of understanding that. And of course, what Jesus experienced was very unrespectable in his day, so much so he was crucified for it.
Never know how much I love you. And so at last the big day dawns. When you put your arms around me,
Maybe that's so
I get a feeling that's so hard to explain. You give me fever.
You feel okay? Yeah, of course.
The nuptial venue, a golf club in Milton Keynes.
Hello, how are you doing? All right, I'm very well. Thank you. Just the two of us. We can make it if we try.
If any can show a just cause why they may not lawfully be joined together in holy matrimony, let them speak now. There's your guest list. Yeah. Paul Phillips, will you take Christophe Noel to be your husband?
I will.
Will you take Paul Phillips to be your husband?
I will.
And we celebrate that news as you kiss one another.